Hey guys, it's Sal from House of Gaia Python. So in this week's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips that I like to use if my subadult or adult ball python is just being stubborn with eating. Typically this list is going to be animals that usually eat for you and then all of a sudden they go off food, or if they're just picky feeders to begin with when you get them. Some of this stuff I might not suggest necessarily for hatchlings or anything maybe under that 400-500 gram mark, but some of this stuff could also work for them as well. You have to use it at your own discretion, of course, and but I just wanted to share some of the things that I like to use to try and help some of my ball pythons to get back onto food. So I hope you enjoy the video, and let's jump into it. Alright guys, so the first thing I'm going to go with is tub location, I'll call it, or rather tub relocation. So what I would do with this one is very simple. So if you have a ball python, let's say at the top of your rack, it hasn't been eating very well for you, it's been skipping meals. One thing I like to try and do first, because it's so easy, is just simply move its tub from up here to down here. Now of course temperatures are going to vary, so with adults I like to keep my females near the top and my males near the bottom typically, which we can go into in a different video. But anyways, what I'll do, like I said, is I'll just simply move a snake from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to the top. I just feel like sometimes that different atmosphere will just spark hunger for some reason. And I'm sure there is a reason for it. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I've had really good success with it. I know I've told a couple of other people about it as well, and they've had success with it as well. So it's a really easy thing you can try, and just to move an animal from here to here, it's crazy the difference in a reaction you'll get with food. So that would be my number one. Nice and simple, and anyone can try that one out. Alright, so the second thing on my list, we'll call this bath time. So basically this one was told to me actually pretty recently from one of my good friends who's local to me. And she suggested basically to just give the snake a bath. I like to use just plain Dawn soap, just a little daub of Dawn soap and warm water, and just give that snake a bath, just like you would after a female would lay. And then while she's having her bath, or he, I would basically do an absolute full clean on their tub, and basically new substrate as well. So I'll give them new cocoa husk, so full clean bath. I think it would work similar to a retub location basically, but in this instance you're getting basically all their scent out of their tub and off of them. So to me it's like they're getting into a new location, and they want to, in my mind, I imagine them wanting to make sure that they have a food source in that new location. Whereas before they've become comfortable, they know that they're going to be getting weekly rats, so there's no rush for them to eat. So I feel like it just kind of sparks something in them. Again, just something that's super easy to try, and it's kind of like a why not try this, Okay, let's move on to number 3. So number 3, we'll call this scenting the rodent. So this one might be more difficult for you depending on what's available to you, what's legal in your province or state. So for us here, I'm not allowed to have live rats, which can be really difficult to work with, especially with ball pythons. But I am allowed to have live ASFs, luckily, which, if you know, with ball pythons, it's probably one of the best sources of food for them, not only just in terms of health-wise, but also just in terms of them actually wanting to eat it. So a lot of the time what I'll do is, if I have a picky, this worked especially for hatchlings, but if I had a picky snake, I would take one of my frozen thawed rats and I would scent it before trying to feed it onto an ASF basically. So I breed my own ASFs here, so I have the option of doing it on live ASFs. So basically what you're doing is you're just grabbing your rat, you're rubbing it onto the ASF or near the bedding or on the bedding, as long as an ASF is in the bedding at the time, and then feeding it directly to the snake so the scent is still fresh. I've had really good success with this. Now I know not everyone's gonna have live ASFs on hand, but if you do, or if you're able to grab ASFs or anything like that, it is a really good method and really easy to do. Now again, this is gonna be dependent if you can actually have ASFs or whatever else you're using to scent the rodent you're feeding, but it is a really useful tool if it's possible for you. All right, let's move on to number 4. So number 4 is take it for a ride. I haven't personally done this one too many times, to be honest, but that's only because I tend to use the first 3 before I get to this step. But I have done this in the past. To me, this one's a 50-50, to be honest with you. I've had success with it, and then I've probably had it not work more times than I've had success. But I have had it work, so I thought I would throw it into the list. It is another very easy thing to do. So basically, if weather permits, for all us Canadians, we really have to make sure the snakes are warm, but basically just packing up the snake as if you're going to ship it, essentially, in my opinion, and taking it for a car ride, you know, a nice 10-15 minute car ride. And again, I think that kind of gets them out of their comfortability of like, this is my tub, I get fed every single week, everything has been the same. I think that when we're changing stuff up, we are triggering a feeding response basically, and I think the drive is doing the exact same thing. All right, let's move on to number 5. Okay guys, so we're on number 5 here. Now this one is my last resort. I don't suggest everyone try this one first at all, and in fact, I'm a pretty stubborn person in terms of feeding, so I rarely do this. It's something that I rarely do, but it's gonna be switching their prey item. And that switching prey item could be using the same, let's say if you're using rats, instead of frozen thawed, for instance, if you're trying to, you know, try to move and give them live. Or if you're doing live rats already, maybe try doing live ASFs or live mice. Now I don't like feeding mice personally, they're just too small in my opinion for adults. I don't want to feed that many mice to one snake, so if it were me, I'm only sticking to rats and ASFs, but if you do feed mice, you can try that as well. But anyways, doing the switch to me from frozen thawed to live is a big switch, and that's because once I do that, for me, I don't have live rats here once again, so that means that snake is going to be eating live ASFs for the rest of its life, which I'm totally fine with. The problem is that ASFs aren't as readily available, and even when I am breeding them myself, I don't have a massive breeding facility, so in order for me to get adult live ASFs, it takes a while, and I can't keep up with the demand if I had to feed all my adult snakes live ASFs. But I just wanted to put it in the list because for those of you who do have you know, easy availability for whatever you're switching to, it definitely works great. And especially for those of you who are feeding frozen thawed, if you're getting them onto live, the feeding response tends to be much better. And it won't always work, that's the thing. Like, everyone thinks it'll work immediately, it doesn't. There are times where I have tried to switch them, and even with live ASFs, they still won't go for it, they're just being stubborn. But again, this is my absolute last thing I would try if it were me, and what I do. I always go with those first 3, and they seem to do the best work, and they are the easiest thing to try. So that is my list of 5 things, and I hope you guys are able to try out at least those top 3. They're super easy to do. I mean, even number 4 is super easy to do, especially if you live in a warm climate. Taking your snake for a drive really isn't going to harm it any, and could spark it to start eating again. Alright guys, so that was my top 5 things to try and get your subadult or adult ball python to start eating again. So again, these are all things that I've found in my own collection and my experience have worked for me. It might not work for everyone. I mean, they're so easy to try. You know, it's definitely something where if you're getting frustrated, you know, your ball python hasn't eaten in months or whatever. For adult ball pythons, it's really not a huge deal to them. I mean, we are offering them food, so we're giving them choice to eat. They are choosing not to. So it's not like we're starving them. They aren't starving by any means, but I mean, once you get to that point, you start wondering if like maybe something's wrong. I mean, it's always important. I should have said this right at the beginning. It's always important to make sure all your husbandry is on point in terms of temperature, humidity, you know, hides, making sure the snake feels safe. Those are the most important things first and foremost. But if all that stuff is on point, then you start thinking like, well, what else could be wrong? And sometimes I really do think we just need to kind of spark ball pythons and reboot them into thinking that they're in a new location or that they need to start feeding because maybe this location I'm in now doesn't have as much food, so I better eat, and that gets them back into the cycle of eating. So anyways, I really hope this helps anyone who's out there who's new. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know all this stuff, but you know, sometimes I like making these videos for someone who's just getting into this and who's having troubles feeding their ball python. And again, if you are one of those people, the most important thing is make sure your husbandry is on point, because that's going to be usually the #1 reason why ball python's not eating. Now that's more typically towards younger ball pythons, but can still easily happen with subadults or adults. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm hoping everyone's staying positive and focused out there, and we'll see you next Saturday. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot to me.